everyone, I'm just gonna squiggle and get comfy here. Welcome to my next video for the mental health sort of series that I'm doing. So this one is on stress slash perfectionism. I've put them together because for me they do go hand in hand. And yeah, so here we go. So I guess for me, I get stressed because of my level of perfectionism. I have this kind of fear of not being perfect, which, to be quite frankly honest, it's silly because nobody's perfect and I cannot hold myself to my own standards. Therefore, I will always fall short of my own standards. So it's sort of, it's a lose-lose situation really. And I think often it was interesting because I was watching Obsessive Compulsive Cleaners the other day, and they were saying how they kind of have a voice in their head that says, you know, something bad will happen if they don't do this. And actually that's what I have. Like, say I'm going to take the washing up for example, because I can no longer do this, and this is partly what has helped because I physically am no longer able to because of the bump. It's too sore on my back to be hunching over the sink, so I've had to start wiping up instead of washing up. So anyway, it's kind of a voice saying, oh no, I have to do this or something bad will happen. And part of the reason with the washing up I get so panicky is because I ended up with E. coli at uni because basically I had housemates that didn't wash up, and unfortunately I didn't really have the energy to do their washing up for them, because I probably would have just done that nowadays, but yeah, because I had a thyroid problem that I didn't know about, so my energy levels were a bit whack. So that was another story altogether. But yeah, I think I had this fear of if I didn't do the washing up I would catch E. coli, especially being pregnant. I then got very fearful of sort of just getting ill and things like that, because obviously my immune system is lowered because obviously I've got another person in me. So I can't remember why it's lowered, but you can Google that. Yeah, so I kind of then start to get very worn down because I'm constantly trying to live up to expectations or standards that I couldn't live up to because I'm trying to be perfect and I cannot be perfect. So I guess I was then wearing myself down a lot and getting very stressed because of the pressure I was putting on myself more than anything. And I think that's where my stress came in. I mean, this was one of my stress triggers, so I'll probably do other videos and mention other stress triggers, but perfectionism is one of them, and holding myself up to my own pressures. I find actually it's easier to say no to other people than it is to myself, and I think it's the same with forgiveness. Actually, I find it easier to forgive others than myself, because, you know, it's because I had the choice of what I can do, and I guess that's why I hold myself up to such high standards, because I do have that choice of whether I do something or not. However, I am not perfect. I will make mistakes, and I think like I'm kind of looking here because I've got some notes that I was thinking about it earlier, because sometimes I know that my thoughts go all over the place, so let's team them. And I think one of the things I wrote is it's actually okay to make mistakes. In fact, it's good for us because we learn from them. And actually, me making the mistake of holding myself to perfectionism, hopefully with this video, you know, talking about it, I can help somebody else, even if it's just one person, you know, that, you know, great, I'm glad I've made the mistake and been able to help somebody else with it. Or just be able to relate to someone, you know, and actually it's something I'm still going to struggle with. It's not something that's just going to go like away magically or whatever. But anyway, so I've got a few sort of things that help me, so I wanted to share them with you. One of the things, basically the first thing I've put is how true is the thought. I'm going to obviously use what I mentioned earlier. Will I get E. coli if I wash up? The likelihood of me getting E. coli is probably about this slim. Even with a lowered immune system. If I didn't do the washing up, or the washing up didn't get done for a week and it was like mouldy, yes, then obviously the risk increases. But say, you know, if I don't do it for 2 days, yeah, it's probably not great, and I probably wouldn't do that all the time, but it's not gonna hurt me in the way that I think it is. And in fact, a bit of bacteria is probably good for my immune system, even with a lowered immune system. It's kind of like, I can't wrap myself up in a bubble just because I'm pregnant. I know I do have to take a bit more care, but you know what? Wash my hands more frequently before eating, things like that. And I think I could get away with this thought going, oh, I'm going to get it because we haven't washed up. And that's where it was going. This is why I was getting so stressed. It's very unlikely, you know, and I think it's really important, especially with what's going on in my life, being pregnant. It's important to give myself a break and not overdo it. Not just for my sake, but for Jellybean's sake. But yeah, so, then I guess another thought that came into my head was, I'm a bad person if I don't do this, which is silly, because it's like, I then started to think, well, why do I think I'm a bad person if I don't do the washing up? And again, I'm just using this because it's an example. It's not because it's just a good example, because it's a real one that I've faced recently. And then I kind of looked at that thought, and then I thought, well, actually, would I think that about somebody else? If I went into somebody else's home, would I think they were a bad person because they haven't washed up? And the answer is no, I wouldn't. You know, probably what would come into my head was, oh, they're really busy, probably, or they're probably really struggling to keep up, because I know that that's what happens when I don't do it. And actually, so that really helped me kind of think, and then in my head it kind of helped me unravel as well, like what I thought about why I needed to do this. So it's kind of like, well, then I thought, oh, this is my responsibility. And I say that because I'm not working. So obviously at the moment I would be on maternity leave even if I was working, but last year I stopped working because of an illness, and then obviously I got pregnant, and by the time I actually felt better it was 20 weeks, and I was like, well, there was literally no point in me getting a job. But again, that's another kind of offshoot. And actually, thinking about it, washing up is a shared responsibility. It's not just sort of a homemaker. Yeah, if I can do it, that's great. If I have the time, yes, I would rather do it than, say, my husband who is at work all the time. However, especially in the last month, just because I am so big, I can't actually get to the sink, and actually I can't do it, and it is a shared responsibility, and which is fine. And my husband's been amazing just doing the washing up as well, because he does work and he comes home and does the washing up, and I really do appreciate that, so I will just put that one in. And then I kind of then thought about sort of why, sort of the roots as to why, if I don't do the washing up, what is so wrong with that, as well as sort of the whole E. coli thing. I think I then realised, do I think that I'm not lovable because if I don't do the things that not is expected of me, but is kind of like I have the time for, why don't I do it? And it's not always about time, for starters, or money, because, you know, there's so many different factors going on. It's not just about that. And I really think that was where it, like, the bottom was lying for me in my perfectionism, because I thought, if I'm not perfect, people won't love me. But at the end of the day, I love people who aren't perfect, and I'm not perfect, and it really hit me, I think, as to why I'd been thinking all these things with my perfectionism. And it's not about the washing up at the end of the day. It's about how I feel about doing these things. And actually, the root of it is, I thought I wasn't going to be lovable if I didn't do the washing up, which, to be quite frank, is complete bull. And yeah, it's sort of, But it was really interesting to actually get to that point and be like, okay, actually that's why I feel the way I do. So it wasn't a shock to the system, but it was sort of actually I'd never really thought about it like this. So yeah, and I mean, like, I know that, like, people don't love me because I do the washing up. That is not why they love me, because people who I don't live with, you know, they've said they love me and I don't do their washing up. It's, you know, and I think I had this thought in my head, and it had spiraled out of control. And I think for me that's where perfectionism sort of lied. Yeah, you know what I mean. And that's why I was getting so stressed, because I had this sort of a lie in my head that wasn't true. And I think that is quite a lot, especially with my mental health. I will believe in a lie that isn't true, and that's where it spirals out of control. And I think this is one of the tips in my mind course that I did with the depression and anxiety, that they gave me this hot thought thing, which I think I've mentioned in another video, about actually questioning my thoughts, about how true they are, and how sort of, yeah, and I think being a little bit more realistic for me, or questioning myself, because nobody else had ever questioned me, and I hadn't questioned my own behaviour and things like that, and I think that's what helped me most. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for what my complete blurt out on stress and perfectionism. So that is, yeah, I mean, I hope somebody found this video useful. If not, maybe you will meet someone one day who is a perfectionist, and it'll help you understand them a little bit more and realise that it's not usually at surface level what's going on. And I think that's a major thing I've been learning about myself and other people. It's sort of like, well, you can see things that are going on and they make mistakes, but actually it's not usually anything to do with that. It's usually something completely different behind the scenes that's going on. And yeah, I think it's yeah, and it is okay to make mistakes, and I think I didn't let myself, and that was my major sort of downfall. But I think now that I've accepted the fact I can make mistakes, hopefully we'll be, you know, going a little bit better. But, you know, I'm still going to make mistakes, but at least I know, and I will at least try to, I can't think of the word, you know, the joy of pregnancy brain. Yeah, just like be able to help myself a little bit more in being more aware of how my brain thinks and all that jazz. So, but anyway, I've been rambling on for 13 minutes, so I'm gonna go. But thank you very much for watching, especially if you got this far. Let me know if you like my video. You know, if you're on YouTube, just like it down below, or subscribe, and then you can see all my rambles. You know, hopefully baby rambles will be coming soon. I am due on Tuesday. Today is Thursday, so it's very close. But yeah, so thank you again for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye!